You can see that Stromback TE is started to move away from the vehicle there.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition and liftoff.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
What a beautiful day for a rocket launch here. As you can see, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Pad 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, carrying our stack of 60 Starlink satellites to orbit. Moments ago, we throttled the engines down in preparation for max Q, or the maximum aerodynamic pressure that the rocket will see.
Vehicle is supersonic.
Vehicle is supersonic, and we should be passing through max Q here in just a few seconds.
Vehicle has reached maximum aerodynamic pressure.
We just passed through max Q, and in about a minute, we will have 3 events happening back to back, and that's main engine cutoff, or MECO, stage separation, and second engine start 1. So first, main engine cutoff. That is where all 9 Merlin 1D engines that you can see burning right now will shut off to slow the vehicle down in preparation for stage separation. And this is where the first stage separates from the second stage.
Ignition has begun.
With the first stage making its way back to land on our drone ship, just read the instructions, while second stage continues on its journey to its third event, which is second engine startup 1. Now this is where the 1 MVAC engine on our second stage lights up and propels that second stage along with our Starlink satellites to orbit. What a beautiful view of those 9 M1D engines burning there on a beautiful clear day. And we're coming up on main engine cutoff shortly here in just about 10 seconds.
MECO.
Stage separation complete.
Ignition.
You can see in that beautiful footage that we did just have MECO, stage separation, and second engine startup 1. Those grid fins are coming out on the first stage there on the left. And in just a few seconds, we should have our fairing deploy.
Fairing separation complete.
You heard the call out, and you can see on your video there that we have had successful fairing deploy. And again, today's flight marks the 40th time that SpaceX has reflown a Falcon fairing half since November of 2019. Now, this is also our first 5th reflight for one of our fairing halves and a 3rd for the other half. In order to recover these fairing halves for future flights, we will be attempting to recover them again with the help of our recovery vessels, Go Searcher and Go Navigator.
Stage 2 continuing towards its first orbit on the right-hand side of your screen. Left-hand side of your screen, you can see Falcon 9's first stage reorienting itself for its next 2 activities. That'll be 2 burns to come back safely to Earth. First of those
Acquisition of
being
signal,
the
Bermuda.
entry burn. That's where we'll ignite 3 of the Merlin 1D engines to help slow down the first stage
Então
as it
acabamos aí de
re-enters the
ter
upper
a
part of the
separação
Earth's
do primeiro
atmosphere.
estágio, né?
The
Nós
second
estamos na
burn will
queima aí
happen
do segundo
closer to
estágio.
the drone ship. That's the
Separação
landing burn, where we'll
perfeita.
ignite just a single center
Tudo na
Merlin
missão correndo
engine.
bem
That'll
e
bring
o bichão tá
the first
subindo.
stage's
Lá
velocity
vai.
rapidly down to 0
Segura a
for
onda
a
aí que
soft
já que ele vai
touchdown.
espalhar
On
satélite
the
aí.
right-hand side of your screen, second stage continuing to burn nominally, acceleration right down the middle. And you can see the glow of the nozzle there. Now, if you are just catching up with us, we did have
Stage 2 on nominal trajectory.
a successful launch of Falcon 9 from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. And first stage on the left-hand side of your screen is headed back to our drone ship named Just Read the Instructions, stationed out in the Atlantic Ocean. Second stage, heading on the right-hand side of your screen, is headed to its first orbit. As a reminder, today's mission does mark the second flight for this booster. If you happen to catch fairing separation earlier, this will be the first 5th flight for one of those fairing halves and the 3rd flight for the other half. Reusability is critical to what we do here at SpaceX. It allows us to refly the most expensive parts of the rocket, and that drives down the cost. Now you can see the grid fins extended on the left-hand side of your screen. Every so often, you'll see puffs of white gas. That's attitude control coming from the first stage to help reorient us to get the 9 Merlins on Falcon 9 pointed towards the Earth. Those Merlin engines are optimized for thrust at sea level. They help Falcon 9 achieve about 190,000 pounds of thrust during ascent and descent. Meanwhile, the Merlin vacuum is optimized for space. That's why it has that larger nozzle. Now, coming up here is entry burn. Keep an eye out on the left-hand side of your screen.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Stage 1 FTS is safe.
This burn expected to last about 20 seconds.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And successful shutdown of those 3 Merlin engines. Now, if you followed along our missions in the past, you'll know that soot
Stage
on
2
the first
continues on
stage
nominal trajectory.
is an indication that the rocket has flown before. That's because we use rocket-grade kerosene, or RP1, as our fuel in Falcon 9. That's a carbon-based propellant. As we burn it, it generates soot. So with the engines down, as we're coming in through the Earth's atmosphere, the soot from the plume comes back up on the first stage and deposits it along the surface of the vehicle. Now, if we didn't do that entry burn, the first stage would come in very quickly in the atmosphere, and the aerodynamic forces could
Stage
cause
1
it to
is
rip apart.
transonic.
So that's why we do that entry burn. And we did temporarily lose the video feed, but we'll hopefully, there we go. Beautiful view. Now, at this point, since we're in the Earth's atmosphere, those grid fins will take over orientation and trajectory back towards the drone ship. Coming up, stage 1 landing burn will begin. Shortly after landing
Terminal
burn
guidance.
ends,
Landing burn startup.
the second stage's engine will shut down. We should be in our expected orbit there. So keep an eye out, see if we can get a video feedback for the first stage.
Local de aterrissagem do primeiro estágio, né? Esse foguete Falcon 9 é muito
Fantastic.
interessante a
Right down the
tecnologia,
middle.
porque ele
That's our 85th
é
successful
recuperável,
recovery,
né? Então tá chegando.
100th
Aí a
18th
comemoração do
successful
pessoal
launch of
aí,
Falcon 9.
FTS is safe.
foguete primeiro.
Acquisition of signal, Goonhilly.
And we're just waiting for acquisition of signal from our ground station.
S2 burn 2 complete.
Good burn. Looks like the video came back just in time for us to see that burn there. And now we're just looking for a confirmation of a good orbit.
Nominal orbit insertion.
You heard the call out for the nominal orbit. We have another coast phase coming up here before we deploy our next batch of Starlink satellites into orbit. During this time, the spacecraft will start to spin along its central axis, giving the Starlink satellites the momentum they need to space themselves out over time after they deploy. We'll see you back here at around T+1 hour and 2 minutes.
Starlink, deploy confirmed.
So that's confirmation of payload deployment. You saw the mechanism separating away, and now the Starlink satellites starting to make their way away from the second stage. Shortly, they will deploy their solar array. Wow, that's a beautiful shot of Earthrise in the background. But shortly, they will deploy their solar array. And then over the next few days and weeks, they'll start to distance themselves out.
Aí,
They've got
moçada,
onboard ion
liberado aí os
thrusters, and that'll
satélites.
help them make their way into their final
Abriu aí, tá
operational orbit.
liberado. Então, solta os
And
bichinhos
with
aí.
that successful deployment of our satellites, we'll bring today's webcast to a close. Thank you to the Range and Federal Aviation Administration for supporting today's mission. And of course, thank you to all of our viewers and all of our Starlink customers using our beta service at this time. If you're interested in being a part of our beta program, head over to starlink.com and sign up. Hope you enjoyed the webcast today, and we'll see you soon.
Ô, moçada, isso aí então. Vamos encerrar a nossa live.